Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the boxing shop. We're back from hiatus. It unintentionally seems like we took the entire winter off, but here we are. What's good, Ray?
Hey man, going into spring, it's a good time to get going, man. So we're here.
Yeah, and I can't. I mean, there was a couple episodes here and there that we could have definitely made a case for. The heavyweight card was a big one. Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou was another good one. There was a few shows there.
Yeah, a few here and there, but I don't feel like there was anything that had moved boxing yet.
Yeah.
The Joshua Ngannou, I think we were all kind of waiting on that, and Joshua did what Tyson Fury should have did, but yeah, and very impressive. And I think Joshua's stock now is at an all-time high, which is crazy, right? Because he beat someone that he should have beat. But as a boxing fan, man, I was hyped for it. I think that was great KO. And yeah, now you gotta want to see him and Fury, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that was a perfect opponent. Tyson Fury, I mean, he took it easy on Francis, without a doubt. He took it easy. It's not that he took him lightly.
I don't know if he took it easy or he just didn't train, bro.
I mean, really, it's kind of the same. I just don't think he cared enough about that fight. Right. I think he knew he was going to get by off skill alone, and I don't think he trained for that either. I don't think he expected to get caught and dropped, but still, he had enough skill set to just go ahead and take that dub. And then
I really think that was showing up off the street, and I'm that much better than this guy,
right?
And yeah, I mean, he got caught, right? That's kind of what we remember. But really, I mean, it's all played towards the greatest good for boxing, right? Because, I mean, for Anthony Joshua, and shout out to Eddie Hearn, right? I've never been a big Joshua fan, but they completely brought him back, right? From the grave. He was basically buried in this game. We had buried him, right?
Yeah.
And whether they point towards the activity and that's the difference. I mean, maybe, but I just think they put him in and they built him up, right? Like a whole career in a year, right? They put him in with the people he could be, people he would look impressive against, and now we're talking about him as a top 3 heavyweight again, top 2 maybe.
Yeah, exactly. It's wild how boxing works out like that sometimes too.
Yeah.
The boxing gods do what they got to do, and hey, we're gonna get that big UK fight eventually, Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, if Tyson Fury gets past Usyk.
Yeah, hopefully. I gave props to Eddie Hearn and for them, but also props to Ben Davidson, his trainer. Tyson Fury's old trainer. We saw what he did with Tyson. Through those Deontay Wilder fights, bringing him back to that level, and then now bringing Anthony Joshua back to the level where we want to see him in with the best heavyweight.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean that. So while we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on that. What else did we really miss this past winter?
I'm trying to think of fights that we missed.
I can't even think of any that. Like you said, nothing really that moved boxing.
Deontay Wilder losing, I guess.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that.
Yeah.
But I mean, shout out to Parker though.
Joseph Parker, man. Yeah. He's up there. Right. And
just
beating Wilder and beating Wilder and then beating Zhang back to back. That's crazy. He actually deserves a shot. And entertaining guy too. We just saw him on Instagram today with the call out of Dillian White. I thought it was hilarious, and I know he kind of does that stuff, but I thought it was hilarious. The whole group scene with I'm guessing his family around the truck singing. If you get a chance, check out Joseph Parker's Instagram. He's a funny guy, a likable guy, right? Like you can't be mad at him.
Yeah, and again, I mean, even if he had a dull personality, you didn't know who he was. the fact that he had 2 back-to-back wins after being in boxing hell, but 2 back-to-back wins against 2 of the hardest punchers and most feared men in the division, and he went through and handled business with both of them.
Both of them.
Yeah, you got to be a fan of that alone. And again, at the end of the day, he is an entertaining dude. So, props to him. Who's not entertaining though is Rolly Romero, and we'll get to that later. But
that's a lot of hate talking now. We'll get there.
You know what? I'm a huge fan of Rolly. I'm not gonna lie. No, I'm just kidding. It's April Fool's. I'm just glad that I'm glad Isaac Cruz did what he did, and I'm glad he didn't end it in the first round, because seeing him take him through the course of that fight and just battering him around, and just when I thought Rolly, I was like, oh shit, okay, Rolly is he's getting in there, because I mean, you got to give him props. The dude's got pop, he's got power, he's dangerous in there still, and yeah, he was getting more comfortable. I'm like, all right, maybe Isaac is slowing down a little bit. But, right as I was thinking that, boom, here he comes again. And it was just like, maybe he was just letting Rolly get comfortable so he can open up again. And, man, what a hell of a performance from Cruz.
I guess let's just hop into that. We're talking about the pay-per-view, the co-main. One of probably the most anticipated fight of the night, which is why I say you're hating, bro. Rolly Romero, whether he only has 15 or so fights, he's an entertainer. He's more and I can't even say he's more entertainer than fighter, because he's a fighter. He was in there with a beast. And I think he showed heart, right? Like that first round, he was – I don't think I've ever seen anyone move like that, bro. That dude turned to liquid.
Yeah, I know.
He wouldn't go down. He's like those old things where you would punch those balloons and they kind of go back and forth but not fall. I don't know how he didn't fall. And for him to come back from that, and at times, yeah, you thought he was in the fight, right? I don't think he ever was, but I think that's credit to Isaac Cruz, bro. You can't hurt the dude, right?
Right, and I want to say Rolly had more success against Tank than he did against Isaac, because I actually when Rolly and Tank fought, I had Rolly ahead at the time.
Yeah, he was winning rounds for sure.
Yeah, and Isaac, he put forth a hell of a game plan. And stuck to it, man. He was focused. He didn't get in his feelings or anything.
Romero was kind of like, to me, he was kind of like Deontay, which I know you probably don't like because you really like Deontay and you don't like Romero. But they're basically the same, right? Like they started boxing late. They have this equalizer that, kind of can put anyone out. But at the heart of it, I don't think they're really boxers. And I think you could tell with both of them when they get hit. Like they just don't take that punch well.
Yeah.
They kind of get all awkward. Like Rolly didn't go down, but you could just tell he wasn't taking the punches well. But, we seen Deontay hurt Fury, right? Rolly was landing about as flush as you could get. And Isaac Cruz didn't move. Like right. his face didn't swell, his face didn't mark. He didn't nothing, bro. So I've seen him in there now with Rolly, a big puncher, taking flush shots. We've seen him in there with Tank, right? Like yep. Tank breaks his hand on Isaac Cruz's head. It's like, bro, he's gonna be a tough fight for anyone, because how do you hurt him? Right? Like, and remember Tank, Tank beat him. Some people will say, oh, Cruz won, whatever. But remember how late of a replacement Isaac Cruz was.
Right.
And I feel like they've kind of been Isaac Cruz has been working towards that rematch. And I kind of always thought, oh, that's what Tank wants to do, because Tank's already beat him. I don't know if Tank wants that fight.
No.
Like even if Tank can beat him, you got to go through hell to do it, right? Like we saw last time Tank fought him, it was a whole different fighter. He was boxing, moving. I don't think that's what Tank wants to do. But how do you beat Isaac Cruz? It's crazy.
I know. I don't want to say Tank got lucky with that fight, but it's definitely one of those fights that's going to age, very well, especially if he doesn't take that rematch. He's got guys like Frank Martin, is what's on the table right now, what we're hearing about. That's a guy that's going to kind of move around a little bit too, but, he's beatable. He appears. He's undefeated, so it's not like there's a blueprint of beating him. But he appears to be more beatable than Cruz does right now. And Cruz, has lost to Davis, so you would think it'd be easy to do it again. But it's not going to be easy to do it again. And I don't think Tank wants that fight at all. He's going to try to move past it as much as he possibly can.
Yeah, and we say I don't think Tank wants that. I think maybe being a fan, I think Tank's a fighter. Right, I think Tank will fight any of these dudes, but his team, which is probably one of the most protective teams, because if you know Mayweather, you know what it's about, right? They're the ones. It's business, and I get that, I understand that. But so looking from that point, I don't see them. Yeah, at 140 now, Isaac Cruz has a belt. How confident in you are your guy to go up and get that?
Right.
I don't know.
And that's the other thing too. On the undercard, Carmiel, he's gonna have, he's gonna have that same aura about him that Tank does, and Floyd did. It's the same blueprint, the same thing, and people are already. He's only had 3 fights, and people are already hating on the kid for whatever reason.
I mean, because he signed up with that side, right? And Floyd made his money off people not liking him. And now those kind of people, or those people, are just, all right, we don't like your guy now.
Right.
The only thing, I guess, it's not even a complaint about that, but like he has 3 fights. Let him grow and progress off TV, right? I think when they really push him, and then which they kind of have started, like, oh, he's ready for a title fight in his first fight. He's ready. When you say stuff like that, you got to expect people are coming for him, Right. But he's young. He wasn't on the main card, so I can't even really hate on that. But it's gonna be interesting with him. But he looks to have all the tools that you could ask for.
Right. And again, 3-0, that was a tough fight he was in there against, but again, it's the hate that people are going to do. And going to Raleigh, people are going to hate no matter what. They're going to find stuff. The one thing, and again, how I feel about him, but I know what it is. I know I can be real with it still too. All hate aside, I've seen people online saying, Raleigh doesn't have power. He doesn't even hit hard, nothing like that. That's probably, if anything, he does have. That's all he has. That. Speaking of,
exactly. I mean, that's kind of why he could start boxing so late, no amateur background, and be a 2-time world champion. Right? You can hate on him all you want, but you can't take those championships away from him. And even the Barroso fight, everyone joked, oh, he's fighting his grandpa, he's fighting this old man. And we were like, yeah, Barroso went on to beat O'Hara Davies in the first round and win a legit a belt.
Right.
So, like, man, for all Rolly's shortcomings, you can't take away what he's done in the sport. And, and so that's even more credit to the way Isaac Cruz he did him dirty.
And since we're talking about dudes with power, I wanted to touch on this. Lara, early on in his career, I remember watching we're at work one day, me and a friend of mine, we were getting ready to watch a Lara fight, and I was like, first round, I was like, all right, I'll be, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna go grab lunch. It's Arislandi Lara. It's not going to end in knockout. Bro, I didn't even get out the parking garage, and he's like, you might want to come back. It was like a second or third round. It wasn't that long ago, but like late in his career, he's been sitting down on his shots and just putting dudes out. Early in his career, he was putting dudes to sleep, as in the fans. Now he's putting the fighters, his opponents, to sleep. Where do you think that's coming from on his side? Is it just like, okay, now I can't rely on my reflexes and speed no more. Let's sit down and put these power shots together. What do you think that is?
Exactly, 100%. I think it's being 41 years old, and whether he can or can't do it. I think at 41 years old, he's probably like, I don't know if I want to move around the ring for 12 rounds. and he has that in his tool bags where he could kind of go to war with you. In the past, he hasn't needed to. He hasn't had to. But now, you take a step, you lose a step maybe, and okay, let me rely on this. And he does have that, right? And it was perfect because the skills are there, right? It was a perfect 1-2, and just got him out of there, and earned himself. I guess he's a champ, or so he didn't earn himself, but maybe he earned himself another. We want to see him kind of.
Yeah, and another big payday, basically, essentially. Also on that card, I mean, I don't think there's much else on the non-televised portion, but kudos to Amazon Prime and PBC for putting together a good show.
Hey, I don't know about that, Felix. You say about the much on the untelevised card. We might have seen the best 154 pounder in the world.
Which one?
The dude who beat Mendoza. I don't even know how to say his name.
Oh yes, Buhacek or something like that.
Yeah, that dude's mean, bro. Like,
oh yeah, bro. Yes, I don't know why I was mixing that up. For some reason I thought that was a DAZN fight. I have no idea. It was a lot of boxing this weekend.
Yeah. No, that was from the Ukraine, and we all are kind of fans of Brian Mendoza because his journey through the sport and what he's done, and he was just outgunned in there.
That was
it was mean. I some of my favorite fighters, I was like, I don't know if that's a good fight for them. But yeah, we did see that on the undercard as well. Yeah,
that was bro, that guy's ferocious, man, and he's a young dude too. I think he's not even in his 30s yet, but he's a young dude, and that's a powerful dude in that division. I would love to see him and Tim Tszyu go at it, man. That would be a war. Or anybody right there. 154 has got some very tough dudes right now. It's like the 140 is all stacked. 147 is stacked with stars, but 154 is like it's like the power punching division right there, and those dudes are all in there ready to bang out, and that's a very good division right there, man.
Yeah, and if I guess we'll probably revisit it when we talk about the main event, but I thought Prime did a pretty good job production wise. Oh, yeah. My only complaint, and I don't know why, if I was just noticing this or what, but I felt like they kept getting the referees back. I don't know, like they'd be having the camera and then the referee would cut. Bro, that was bugging me, man. I was like, come on. But that's my only complaint. Like, everything looked clean on the screen. I was all right with the commentary team. I mean, Goosen's not my favorite, but it was cool.
At one point, Mauro Ranallo had to kind of like teach Goosen on the job. This is, why we're commentators. He asked them a question to explain an answer.
Bro, it was every time he said, "What's the score?" And Goosen would say, "Oh, I have it 10 rounds to 0." And okay, well, why? And he'd get like he started out, he'd get kind of bugged, like he had to answer why.
It's not, again, you're not, Mauro Ranallo doesn't care why you have that. He's asking you to explain to the viewers at home. He's got to understand that, get in his groove. It did feel like everybody was kind of off in a way, a little bit. Maybe they were rusty, trying to get back into the groove too, but overall, like you see the difference now between a streaming network and a network TV. There was no break. They didn't have time constraints. They could, end the show when they wanted, and everything moved quickly. The entire card was over by 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I've not seen that in the longest time in boxing.
Yeah, unless there's knockouts, and it wasn't. I don't know if that's a trend or what, but I really enjoy it. I was at the Williams Zepeda fight, and that fight started, and the same thing. If there was a knockout early, cool. 5 minutes later, the next fight was coming on. It wasn't. Right. I didn't have to see ads for 20 minutes. And I thought, well, that was a small DAZN show. but then it happened with this card too. Like after the Arizlandi Lara fight, we kind of got the next fight right away, and I was like, oh, sweet. So hopefully that is a trend, because I think all boxing fans are for that.
Yeah, 100%. And you can see the difference on the Top Rank card. They had a lot of filler in between the shows, and then they would put the one thing I did like that they implemented was a timer. Estrada Valle would start in like 15 minutes, and it was a timer that would count down. You can see how much time you had left before they started that fight. Valdez Wilson starts in X amount of time, but the fact that they had to use filler just kind of shows you still they have that network constraint, the time constraint there, whereas the Prime PBC card, they didn't. They just kept things moving, and it felt. That's why I love club shows, because they just move. They keep moving. There's no time. There's a brief intermission halfway through, but that's it. You're gonna keep. If it's a knockout, you better be. If you're a fighter on a club show, you better be prepared, man. Wrapping your hands, hitting those mitts, being ready at all time.
Like, show me something, even if you had to bring back the swing bouts, right? The worst thing is just like a first round knockout and then showing the same recycled interview for however many times. But yeah, like I said, I hope it's a trend, because I saw it at the Zepeda fight. And then this past fight, it just flowed smoothly, man. Like, I hope they keep that up.
Yeah, I definitely prefer that a whole lot more. And HBO and Showtime did good with the way they used to pace stuff, but when it got to the pay-per-views, man, I think I might have been some Pacquiao pay-per-view. I swear we waited at least 2 hours for that fight to start.
Well, I think the worst is remember when Canelo was fighting somebody and they waited for like the UFC card to finish, and
they were in the dressing room sleeping.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, that was wild, man. Hopefully this all keeps going. Let's talk about the main event real quick. I mean, that one is a crazy one, because Tim Tszyu, I was like, all right, this parlay is definitely going to hit, because Tim Tszyu was on his way he's building the blocks for a knockout. First round, he landed a mean right hand at the end. He kept the pressure going in the second round. I was like, yeah, he's got this in the bag. And just like, Kostya and Zab Judah, Tim Tszyu and Sebastian Fundora, the last second of the second round, magic happens. And what happens this time? Splits his head open and changes the entire direction of the fight. And a lot of people said it, and I was thinking it too. They should have just called it. Took the
man. Why?
There's that. Right?
The only people saying they should have called it are the people that bet on Tim Tszyu. I understand it.
I would have lost no matter what, but he would have retained his title if they would have called it.
But this is my point. Like, they were like, oh, the corner should have called it. Bro, the corner can't just call a fight. Like, the doctor comes in, and it wasn't a dangerous cut. You know what I mean? It wasn't a dangerous cut. The cut was up here. You always see, or at least you used to see, like, where's the cut at? Is it affecting his vision? If it's on the eye or whatever. This cut was on his head. So I didn't see, if they would have stopped that, I would have been pissed. Like, bro, he's cut up there. That's not affecting his vision. Now the blood coming from there, that is, but that's on his corner. He hired him.
Yeah. Horrible job from the corner.
So I gotta disagree with you that, they should have just, I mean, you said that, we see Stitch Duran say, the corner should have stopped. Bro, do they have the option to just stop the fight? Like, if that's the case, like, if my fighter gets cut, I just stop working on his cut and say, hey, stop the fight. Like,
that is a good point, though. It is in that case, that is the doctor's call, because if his corner would have stopped it, then that's definitely a TKO loss right there. It's definitely would have had to have been.
That's what I'm saying. Like, when Stitch was like, the corner did him a disservice or whatever. That's not what he said. He said something to that effect, though. But, you don't have the option to just stop a fight. The doctor looked at it. The cut's up here. So how is that affecting anything to do with him? We got Bean pointing out right here, the Badu Jack cut. That was way worse than what Tim Tszyu had.
Yeah, that was brutal.
but that also was not affecting the right. That's in his forehead, right? It's not around the eyes. So, hey, man, was it a bad break? Was it a bad break for Tim Tszyu?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it also a bad cut man in your corner?
Hell yeah.
100%. Like you should be blaming that guy right now that you don't have an undefeated record.
Right. And a title. Yep.
Yeah. So I just had to stop you right there. Like when they were saying, oh, they should have stopped the fight should have went so many rounds. Nah, man. Like the cut wasn't bad. According to the doctor, like it wasn't dangerous, I should say. The cut was bad. Obviously, it was bleeding a lot. But it was in a spot that he could still continue to fight. You don't get to just call the fight off because you can't stop the bleeding.
Right. And to his credit, on the flip side, Fundora's nose was busted open. Yeah. I was wondering if it was a broken nose and maybe even a jaw. His mouth was bleeding. But all that was just in those 2 rounds. If it wasn't for that blood constantly.
Jesus saying it right there. Sorry, not to cut you off, or I guess to cut you off. Jesus in the comments is saying it right there. I thought that was worse, right? Because he's swallowing blood. It's coming down. He was leaking.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it definitely changed the fight more for Tszyu, but they were both going through stuff.
Yeah. They most definitely were. I'm definitely looking forward to the rematch because they've already said it was a verbal agreement. It was a short notice, but they've had a lot of verbal agreements in there, and they're going to honor that. They're going to give Tim Tszyu the rematch, and I think that's the right thing to do here.
Yes,
without a doubt. I mean, if I'm Fundora, I got to know that it's just like what I said in the chat, like Rocky 3. Like I want to know if I actually have it. Mm-hmm. I know the cut caused Tim Tszyu to not perform the way he would have. So I want to know that I can beat him at his best. So I'm going to, that fighter's pride, I'm going to give him that rematch. And I'm glad they're going to do that. I don't know how long it's going to take because obviously there's going to be some healing that needs to be done. But I'm glad that they are going to have that rematch. Now, on the flip side, this is my only fear, which I hate seeing, is when they have a trilogy and it holds up, those 2 fighters for a long time, which could potentially happen if Tim wins. He's going to have to give Fundora a rematch. So, we're looking at a potential 3 fights. I want to call it now. 2024 is pretty much done for both of those 2 guys.
I mean, I could see them getting a rematch, and then maybe that third not immediate, right? Something like that. It just depends how that fight plays out. The cut definitely affected Tszyu, but there's no reason for it to affect him that much. Like, bro, is that how he fights when, under pressure type thing, when he backs against the wall? Like, you got to compose yourself and fight your fight. Like, for him to change that much, one accidental cut, obviously bad. He wasn't expecting it at all. But for it to change that, for the fight to change, like completely do a complete 180, like that was crazy to see. And I tried to recall, have I seen an instant where something happened in a fight and it caused it to change that drastically? And I'm not sure.
I don't. Yeah, I know I can probably find something out there, but off the top of my head, nothing stands out for sure.
Yeah.
And that was just a crazy, it was nobody's fault. It's not like Fundora's got a history of hitting dudes with his elbow. That was just all accidental, man.
Oh, he ran into it. But what I would say is, Fundora, I guess he learned from the Mendoza fight. But to me, he wasn't really himself. I felt if he really fought his fight, he could have got Tszyu out of there. But if you notice, like, the uppercuts were gone.
Yeah.
Basically the throwing the left hand was gone. He won that on just a jab. Like, and I think that was him. I think he thinks he was learning from that last fight. But I don't know if you win fights off just a jab. He won this one off of that, but one judge had it the other way. So I don't know. I think if Fundora was more himself, Which, yeah, when he's throwing uppercuts and fighting in the middle, is he more vulnerable? Yes. But, that also part of what makes him, those uppercuts, the left hand and the inside. So, I don't know. I thought Fundora could have done better, actually.
I think he was definitely listening to his corner, his family. They told him, they basically knew you got it in the bag, just box. You got this in the bag. Zoo's not going to be able to do much to you. Just box, and but I know again, and he said it, he just likes to fight. And I'm pretty sure he wanted to get in there and mix it up. I think the rematch is going to be a lot more entertaining too. Barring no injuries or anything like that happens the next time too.
Yeah. You really feel bad for Zoo, but at the same time, I don't think that he's on that like all-time level. And that's not a knock on him. I just don't. I mean, very few are, right? So I don't think that zero's gone. Cool. I don't think it's gonna bother him. I think he's gonna still show up and on his best day beat just about everybody. I would kind of say like maybe a Sean Porter. Like once they got their loss and they kind of Sean got a couple losses, but he was tough for anybody, tough for everybody. And I think Tim Tszyu can be that guy now. It's kind of like once that zero's gone, all right, let's see who you really are now. I feel like everything before that, a lot of guys are like, let me just try to maneuver and keep this O. So I think Tim Tszyu is great for the sport, obviously, by just coming to the United States, by wanting to fight in Vegas, by taking on Fundora on 12 days notice. And I think he's going to give boxing a lot that we're going to be very grateful for.
And also, I think, it's weird to say, but Tim Tszyu never had the persona or an attitude of an undefeated fighter. And I think only boxing fans will understand that statement. He didn't carry himself like an undefeated fighter. You know what I mean? Like when you think about those kind of guys avoid risks.
Yeah, you don't fight the 6'7" guy on 12 days notice.
Right. Yeah, those he wasn't an undefeated fighter's fighter. If that, if I'm
taking that as a compliment. I think that's a compliment.
Yeah, exactly. And it is. And I think that's the direction the sport needs to be going too. And George, Elijah Garcia's dad, shout out to him. He pointed out on his Instagram story, every fighter on that card all had losses, every single one of them, except Tim Tszyu, and now he does. But there was like no undefeated fighters on there. And that showed, great competition, great fighters. And I think that's the direction we're headed in the sport. And I couldn't be happier. Like, get away from the Mayweather era. Let's get back into the fighting era.
It shows guys willing to take risks. We look at Isaac Cruz. Why does he have an L? Well, he might have had an L before, but I mean, he fought Tank on how many days' notice, right? Yep. But even in that loss, that boosted him up to the position where we know who he is now. We want to see him fight. Same thing for Tim Tszyu to take on Fundora. Man, who doesn't want to see Tim Tszyu fight now, right? I think Sebastian Fundora is kind of an outlier. Like, bro, nobody fights like that. You can't reenact what he does. He's kind of like, that's going to be a weird fight for anybody. But Tim Tszyu against any 154 guy, it's going to be a good fight. Like even him and Crawford, even I guess that may be what they were working towards, but even without a belt or even a vacant belt, that's a great fight.
Yeah, hell yeah. That would be a banger. Might as well throw his name in there because he got in the ring right away, looking like he's ready to fight David Benavidez, possibly with his weight division, but Errol Spence.
That's weak, bro. And I think that's why PBC gets hate. There's a whole crowd out there that hates anything PBC does. And it's because stuff like that, right? Like, okay, they got this belt from Tim Tszyu, and they have, their fighter Fundora. And okay, now let's just bring Spence back into the picture.
Right.
There's no reason why Spence should be fighting for a belt at 154 after that last performance. And it's kind of tough, right? Because we always say, hey, losses don't matter. Losses don't matter. They don't matter. Like, yeah, we want to see Spence again. But, bro, you don't just get to go to 154 and fight for the belt after that performance. Exactly. Even if it was a close loss, cool. If you were winning the fight and then you lost, kind of like a Fundora did, right? I felt like Fundora was beating Mendoza and then he got caught. Errol Spence got embarrassed. I don't think there's a better way to put it, right? He got embarrassed. So get out of the ring, Errol Spence.
Yeah. And I mean, he was we just talked about it a second ago, but Errol Spence still has the undefeated record fighters persona because it seemed like that loss didn't bother him. He's moving forward, but not in a way of a fighter's fighter. Like he doesn't feel like he lost anything. Like he doesn't feel like the fact that he feels like he deserves to just jump the line, as he said. It's crazy to me, and it's probably going to happen too. Well, if after the Tszyu and Fundora rematch, of course.
Well, I mean, you're saying Tszyu Fundora rematch like that's going to happen, right? That's all verbal from all what we've heard, right? Samson, I don't get. I see people putting that he's his sole promoter.
Yeah,
but what does that mean? That he's not a PBC fighter, or what? Where are they going with that? Like Samson makes all the calls. Is that what is that what we're saying? Basically, like Al Heyman has no say.
Basically, and it's very similar. I mean, it's similar to the contract that David Benavidez has. He's with Samson as well, but he's also a PBC fighter too.
Yeah. See, I don't know the background and how all that works, but if Al Heyman's involved, I think Al Heyman's going to get his way.
Yeah.
Unless you're Canelo, right? Canelo was like, hey, yo, you ain't paying me my guarantee. I'm out of here. I feel like he's the only one that kind of has that pull.
Oh, yeah.
If they say, hey, if Al Heyman says, hey, Fundora, you're fighting Errol Spence, I kind of feel like that's going to happen. Like, I don't doubt Samson wants to do the right thing and honor his verbal agreement to a rematch. I just don't know if he has the pull to make that happen. Right? Hey, we saw Samson and Benavidez, right? Samson was saying, hey, we offered Canelo this much money. And Canelo said, hey, I haven't heard anything. So, I feel like if it's not coming from Al Heyman, hey, Samson, that's cool. You think you're in a cool position, but Al Heyman is the guy pulling the strings, from what it seems to me.
Yeah, without a doubt. And for the longest time, he's been that guy in boxing. For this era and many eras, the amount of fighters that he's had. He's had every top dude. I mean, probably minus Canelo, but he's had every top fighter in the sport.
He had Canelo too, right? He had Canelo under contract.
Yeah.
I would, Michelle saying he didn't lose, he was drugged, which I kind of I don't think he was drugged. I think he might have taken drugs.
Yeah, I don't think he was drugged. I think he drugged himself. Is the problem.
How do you sell that fight? Right? How do you? I don't get it. Like, unless he is gonna say like, oh, this happened to me before. To me, that's just a very tough sell. When we talk about that division being, so strong, that's just very tough for me to see Errol Spence come in after that loss and say, oh, okay, yeah, he wants to fight the kingpin at 154 because Fundora now has 2 belts at 154.
Right. And I don't think it is fair. I mean, maybe in let's say, all the title belts at 147 were scattered. Maybe he could fight for another title bout in that division again. He had just had them. He lost them. Now they're scattered. But to move up a division after getting beat down like that, I don't feel it's right for him to be able to get a title shot immediately.
Yeah. We'll see, right? Like I told you, like, come on, Errol Spence, go in there and beat Erickson Lubin. Go in there and beat Jesus Ramos. Shoot, where's Joey Spencer at? Like, do something at 154 that makes me think that you deserve this title shot. Now Terrence Crawford, yeah, he deserves it, right? Like, yeah, he was at 147, but by the way he dominated, I don't think anybody at 147 is beating him. Let him get a title shot at 154. I'm just saying, I don't think you could get blown out, embarrassed like that at a weight class below, and then want to fight for the title. That is definitely, Jesus says, that's both those last two comments are 100% correct.
Yep.
I would just hope that Amazon Prime puts some pressure on PBC. Like, no, we're not doing that. But I don't know if they have the boxing people to make that call, you know?
Right.
I don't think Errol Spence is that big of a name, honestly.
And that's the thing. Him and Crawford both aren't really. They're from our standpoint. They were at one point the top two guys in the sport. But any other casual out there, it's Gervonta Davis, it's Canelo, it's Ryan Garcia.
Yeah,
it's definitely not Crawford or Spence.
That fight was the best fight that could happen, and I think that's what brought people in.
Yeah,
it wasn't because like, oh, I really need to see Errol Spence fight, or I really need to see Terrence Crawford fight. And I think that's kind of what we've seen with Terrence Crawford, and I think that's why his career is kind of stalled out because, he said, oh, I want to be paid like I'm the guy. I want to be paid like I'm. Skills-wise, yeah, Crawford, you're the guy. But it's not really generating the interest. It doesn't really transcend into everyday sports.
And I've seen a lot of people say this online too. Like, people think, it's so true. Terrence Crawford thought that fight was going to propel him into superstardom, and it hasn't. If anything, that buzz is over with. He didn't capitalize on it. And, whatever he gained from that traction is gone now. He should have at least had some sort of tune-up in between something. Fight anybody.
Fight anybody, right? Like, even, people hate. I think this is why he gets a lot of hate. But when Danny Garcia fought Rod Salka, right? Hey, it was a highlight, right? It was to stay busy, and he got a highlight out of it. So, yeah, boxing fans were really mad at it. But we know who Danny Garcia is now. Boom! Look what Danny Garcia did to this guy. If Terrence Crawford 3 months later would have fought Joey Spencer and laid him out, boxing fans would have been mad. Oh, well, that's a nobody. But everybody, the casuals, would have been like, "Dang, look what he did again."
Right. Exactly. And at the end of the day, do you want to please the people watching at home? Well, kind of, yeah. But the people in attendance are the ones who are actually paying their money to travel and go see you fight. You want to put on a performance for them. And Danny Garcia did that in front of Puerto Rico. They were trying to do that whole Danny's a Puerto Rican fighter thing at that time. But, I mean, everybody was on their feet in that crowd, and you can't ask for anything more than that. That was a hell of a knockout over Rod Salka.
Oh, yeah.
Almost decapitated that dude, man.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, like, stay busy. Like, yeah, you're not going to make everybody happy.
Right.
But, hey, make somebody happy, right? Like Crawford, by just not fighting, he's, like you said, he's lost all momentum. He had, casuals maybe, right? Like, he kind of had, Eminem was there for him. Obviously, there was some traction going.
Yeah.
But he just kind of dropped the ball almost.
You knew it was going to be bad news when he had Eminem walk him to the ring but not perform.
Yeah, he paid the deposit, but he didn't pay the follow through. I did see a pic of them recently, so that's cool. But I also think Eminem is probably a boxing fan, so he gets it. You have to keep. Like I said, you got to either get the casuals or you got to get the hardcore. When you just don't fight, you lose both.
Right, right, and that's it's a shame, and I think Terrence Crawford is going to fall into the Bernard Hopkins category, where Hopkins was dominant. He was a beast for many, many years, but outside of the purists, nobody cared. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody cared. But if he had a big fight, then they cared. But nobody was calling in to see him, and the same is going to fall for Crawford. Like, he doesn't have an exciting style to where everybody's just like, "Yo, this guy's must see." I mean, what?
I mean, when he is in the ring, he is must see, but you got to get in the ring.
Yeah, that too. You know who else is must see? I'm gonna steal a tactic from Bernardo Osuna, because he did this multiple times through every fight, the entire night on Friday night on Top Rank. But you know who was must see? Oscar Valdez. Oscar Valdez, man, what a warrior, bro. Him and Liam Wilson both. That was a hell of a fight.
Oscar Valdez, since he came out the Olympics, right? Like, he was one of those guys that I saw at the Olympics, or followed on TV or whatever. And you just kind of knew he had that style that was going to be a good pro style. And he gets it. I think that's really what it is. He gets it. Like, he knows what the fans want. He knows kind of what he wants to be remembered as, his legacy, and he puts it all out there. And I don't know how anyone cannot be an Oscar Valdez fan.
Yeah, and when he throws those punches, he's given us some spectacular knockouts too. But I wouldn't consider him a one-punch KO guy, because he's kind of had the accumulative effect too.
Well, yeah, and he's moved up in weight classes.
But man, when he throws those shots, he puts everything behind him every single time in every single round. And man, it was only a matter of time for Liam Wilson was feeling that. And it's crazy because, the whole, beating the guy who beat the guy theory and whatnot, he managed to get a stoppage quicker than Navarrete did, but that really does. It's not gonna land him a rematch now, but man, good for Oscar still. Hell of a fight.
Yeah, for sure. Good for Oscar. I thought a good showing by Liam. We got Jesus saying he was disappointed. I thought it was a good showing. Like, he started off like, right, he has his tools, he has his game plan, and he just got drugged into a war, which he kind of said that's what he really wanted to do, was be in that type of fight.
Right.
And for Oscar Valdez, I do think he's on the backside of his career, but he's fighting like it's day one, right? The way he's sitting in there, willing to go to war with the Liam Wilson. I was impressed with him. I think he's a Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, what is he? 2-time gold medalist, right?
Well, 2-time Olympian.
Okay.
I don't know if he medaled, honestly, but he was
medaled. But yeah, he represented Mexico both times.
Yeah, he's 2-time Olympian, and then now multiple world championships. And like I said, man, it really helps when a guy understands the sport. Jesus, come on, we ain't gonna do that. He's not Hall of Fame. How's he not Hall of Fame, bro? I always go to this. If we got Arturo Gatti in the Hall of Fame, Oscar Valdez is leaps and bounds better and more accomplished than Arturo Gatti. So he's getting in.
Yeah. Oscar Valdez is without a doubt a future Hall of Famer. There's guys who are less deserving for sure. But Oscar Valdez,
like, has he been beat bad like by Shakur Stevenson? Yeah.
I mean, but even then,
he fought Shakur Stevenson at past his best weight, and he fought Shakur Stevenson. How many guys have we seen not fight Shakur Stevenson? Like, now there's an excuse, right? Like, Shakur looked so bad in his last fight. People say, "Oh, I don't even want to see him." I understand that. I get that. I don't want to see Shakur fight either. But Oscar Valdez fought him because that was the challenge in front of him. So.
Gotti's a straight up fighter. Leaps better than Valdez. I would say, I mean, if I'm gonna have if you were to have a career, which one would you rather have? I would have rather lived through Oscar Valdez's career than Gotti's, only because I don't want to put my body through what Gotti did.
Bro, come on.
That was, there was no need for what he did.
Arturo Gotti got laid out by Alfonso Gomez. We ain't gonna talk about that he's better than Oscar Valdez. We're not doing that.
Arturo Gatti he had the highest highs and the lowest lows. Very up and down career. Oscar's had 2 losses to 2 of the best, and he was competitive throughout.
At high level.
Right.
High level. Arturo Gotti, I'm an Arturo Gotti fan, but come on, what do we remember him for against Mickey Ward? Mickey Ward was never no world champ. I think he held the WBU. I mean, I guess if you want to count that, we can count that, but I've talked to the WBU guy, and I don't think we want to count that.
That's true. And Mickey Ward was again, he's at that point in his career, at his age, the wars that he had been in, and he was given, and Gotti went life and death with him. You know what I mean? I don't think if Oscar Valdez fought somebody similar right now, I don't think he'd go life and death with him.
Yeah, and I don't want to take away from Mickey Ward, right? Mickey Ward is one of those guys who will hop in with anyone, and everyone that he's fought, I think, has said. I think Zab Judah has said, Mickey Ward's left hook. We know that. I'm just saying on this top level, if we're comparing, come on, Oscar Valdez he's accomplished.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, if we were to put them in the ring, I would pick Oscar Valdez over Arturo Gotti in a fantasy fight.
Yeah, that's a good one, actually.
Yeah.
So Oscar Valdez will fight Arturo Gotti's fight. So
yeah. Oh yeah. That would have been a hell of a fight right there. That would have been a war.
That's a good one of those mythical matches that I've never heard said before. So that's cool.
Hey, thanks, Jesus. You motivated us. Yeah, Gotti did beat Rafael Reyes, but he was losing the entire fight until he came back, come from behind victory. And not to take anything away from that, but still, if it wasn't for the knockout and come from behind, you know what I mean? It's not like he was dominating that fight. Yeah. So at the end of the day, he was still getting beat.
And Gotti Jr. is in the amateurs. I have seen that, and I am curious to see what happens with that. Right. Like I said, I mean, I think if we're all boxing fans, we're all kind of the same eras. Yeah, we love Arturo Gotti. Just like Oscar Valdez is that dude.
Right. And again, if Arturo Gotti's in the Hall of Fame, Oscar Valdez is without a doubt going in the Hall of Fame 1 year.
Yeah.
Also on the undercard, Seniesa Superbad Estrada versus Yoka Valle. That was a better performance than I expected from Estrada. Not that I didn't think, because I've always been high on her. I just thought that she was not going to be able to control her emotions. She was very emotional going in. And a lot of it wasn't directed towards Valle. It was more towards the trainer, the whole situation that came about. And I didn't think she was going to be able to keep those emotions in check in the ring, especially because it wasn't directed towards her. But she did. And she stuck to her game plan, and she dominated, and she took that fight. There's no doubt about this. She won that decision at all.
Yeah.
Her trainer was funny, though.
Well, yeah, we'll get to the trainer, but I was confused by the people in your area booing that. Like, what was that about?
So, and that's the other interesting thing. Watching at home, it was clear to see that Estrada won, but in the arena, nobody did. The other people, the majority felt that Valle won.
Like, were they not able to see that kind of Seniesa wasn't getting hit by much, or what do you think it was?
I don't know. It's very interesting. I was talking to somebody who was there. He felt that it could have been a draw or Estrada. He didn't feel like Valle won, but it could have been a draw or Estrada, which still paints a picture that it was a close fight in person, as opposed to what we saw on TV. And when you're in an arena, unless you're like ringside, you're not seeing and hearing everything either. So, the further back people are, maybe they don't see that some shots aren't connecting. If you're rolling with the punches or you're barely missing, you're not going to see that. So, then Arizona's the type of crowd who wants they're going to favor Tim Bradley alluded to it. He's like, you move forward in Arizona, you're going to win the fight. Move forward, you're going to win the fight, and that's the kind of crowd that we have out here too. They like that style, so there's probably a lot of people leaning on that.
That was interesting though, and I kind of felt bad for Seniesa the way, like, because I thought she won clearly, and then she's getting the boos or whatever. But she won that fight. I think she knows that she won that fight.
Yeah.
And you alluded to the trainer, and that was probably my favorite part. Where who was it? No, it was Kriegel.
Yeah.
He told her trainer, "Hey, just to let you know, I did have her winning by 4 rounds." What did she say? Well, yeah. So what about those other 6? Yeah, right away I said, "Yo, the math ain't mathing right here."
Oh, that was like, do I gotta paint it for you? Like, what do you mean? What happened to the other 6?
Winning by 4 rounds, not 4 rounds. Like,
right. Yeah, and she was probably emotional herself too. But
yeah, she was kind of. I felt like she was a little extra emotional, and I get it when you have history like that.
Yeah.
It's always Seniesa won that fight, man, and props to her becoming unified or undisputed? Undisputed?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah.
It's always funny when you have a trainer fighter storyline in a fight, because obviously the trainer's not in the ring, but there's bad blood there.
Yeah, but Seniesa did her thing, man, and coming off of hand surgery and all that, just. I think she just showed she was kind of on another level, right? Like her defense, just being able, her accuracy. Vaya, not to discredit her, she did make it interesting. But I just think Seniesa was on another level.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Also on that card, Felix, I saw it in the comments earlier. Raymond Murataya.
Yes. Stunk up the joint,
bro. Yeah.
Everybody's entitled to a bad performance. I'll just say that.
And I get it. There are bad performances, but at that level, and when you're calling out those type of people, you can't have that.
Yeah.
You can't. Like, you're gonna go to the back of the line. He was talking about he's ready for Shakur and all this, and maybe this helps him get one of those fights. But I thought he was really the big loser of the night.
Yeah, no, that was not a really good performance at all. And on the other one, Delgado was another one that wasn't a really good performance. He got the stoppage, he got the knockout, but both of them didn't really put forth what we would have wanted to see from them too.
Well, I think so. I really like Lindolfo, so I'm not gonna hate on him. But he got the stoppage. What more do you want? That's all I'll say about that. But Murataya, when we talk about 135, and we just saw William Zepeda do what he did at 135, I gotta put Zepeda way over Murataya right now.
Yeah.
And that goes to, as we say, you're only as good as your last performance, and that's just how boxing is.
Yep.
So Murataya, yeah, you got the win. Some people will argue, "Oh, a win's a win. That's what matters." I don't think so. When it comes to getting fights and people wanting to see you, you got to be impressive, and that just wasn't an impressive performance at all.
Yeah, not at all. Raymond Murataya trying to milk the ESPN time slot. I mean, if that's what he was trying to do, he didn't really do a good job. You're on the big stage, you got to perform like it. I
don't know if they're saying the weight or he had a horrible cut. Well, come on, man. When you're in a position to have a fight that could propel you into kind of superstardom almost, you got to deliver. So I think he actually took a couple steps back with this performance.
Yeah, we'll see how he does in the bounce back. I'm sure Top Rank is going to get him in there right away. Your boy Richard Torres is another one who's constantly fighting. And I didn't know. I swear I've seen like 20 of his fights, but to find out that he was only like 8-0, that was kind of
really?
That was a little shocking to me. I guess I've watched all 8 of his fights because it feels like I've been seeing him for a while. I mean, Richard Torres got another quick knockout. I would love to know what the occupation of that guy is that he fought, because it's not a fighter, that's for sure. But
that's crazy, man. And the only reason I say that is like Richard Torres, you were an Olympian.
Yeah.
Right. Come on, man. The only thing, like, we have seen him knocked out, right, in that world boxing, whatever.
Knocked out.
If he's just trying to, get some confidence back, but it makes me like, has he been knocked out in sparring? Like, why are we still getting these type of opponents?
Right. That's it's. We'll see. Obviously, when there's stuff like that happens, you definitely always feel like the team knows something that we don't. The camp, the trainers, all of that, and Richard Torres. I'm looking at his record now. Yeah, he was 8-0 on that night. He's 9-0 now. Even the guys that he's fought, I mean, everybody kind of has losing records. Curtis Harper.
Like, it doesn't make sense, right? Like, we have Rolly Romero, 15 fights, and he's 2-time world champion, no amateur background. And then we have this guy who has like one of the best amateur backgrounds that you can get, Olympian. I don't know if he medaled, and he's fighting guys that, my boy Bean in the comments could be like, it's just not adding up.
Yeah, not at all. You got David Morrell, who less than 10 fights, and I still personally feel like he can beat Canelo, the biggest guy in the sport. Some might say I'm crazy, but there's an argument to be made. There's plenty of people who would probably agree with me.
We David Benavidez is flat out ducking him, right? So
yeah. So there it is, and again, less than 10 fights.
That's one thing we missed, right, Felix? Yeah, I don't want to. I'm a Canelo guy, and all the talk is Benavidez saying, "Oh, he's ducking me, he's ducking me, he's ducking me." So he's going to go to 175 and fight Canelo's sparring partner. Well, bro, if you're all about proving you're the best, there's a guy named David Morrell,
right
there at 168. So like, don't act like say what it is. You want that big money fight against Canelo. Because if you really wanted a good fight, a 50-50 prove you're the best fight, you'd fight David Morrell. You wouldn't go up to 175 and fight Canelo's sparring partner who retired a few years ago. like let's keep it real.
Yeah. And I'm gonna highlight this because I kind of feel you. His aura is not, he's a superstar, but I feel like, I don't know, there's something that hasn't sold me on it. I don't know. There's something missing there still, but he's the top guy in the sport. We can't, he's earned that spot.
He's been at that spot for how many years, right? Like Canelo's another one. He's on the backside of his career.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can say he's overrated, but come on, was he overrated when he's fighting Arizlandi Lara, when he's fighting Austin Trout? And this was done years and years ago. Like, he's already cemented his spot.
Yeah.
So like, do I want to see him fight David Benavidez? For sure. But for whatever his reason is, right? Whether it's to generate more money or what, it's just not happening. My point is, like David Benavidez, you could call him out on that and do all you want, but you're doing the same thing by not fighting David Morrell.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing a lot of people are kind of ignoring. And the fact that David Morrell's been so vocal about it too, flat out disrespectful at times. And I see some people have said before, I've seen Instagram comments, David Morrell's too disrespectful. He doesn't deserve that payday. If you're a fighter, that's what you kind of got to do. Especially in Morrell's case, where he doesn't speak English. He's not an American star like that. He's got to do whatever he can to get that attention, that traction.
Bro, how is he disrespectful? There's no more disrespectful than what Benavidez is doing to Canelo.
Oh yeah, yes. There's that too. Exactly the same. Yeah.
Like Jose Benavidez Sr., you put a camera on him and he's talking bad about Canelo. But you put a camera on them and what, they don't know who David Morrell is, or eventually, like, come on, you can't be mad that you're being treated one way, but then treat the next guy exactly like that and act like it's all good.
Right. And David Morrell is just his name alone strikes fear in people. He's like Debo.
Yeah.
Like David Morrell is, I mean, he's that dude. Curious to see what he has coming next too. I would hope that he would get Benavidez or Canelo. That's what I really want for him because I feel like he's that dude.
And I would. And I still, man, I'm a Canelo fan. Like I said, I want to see him fight Benavidez for sure. Benavidez is on the come up. Like I said, Canelo's on the way down. He has less fights left than what he's had, I guess. He's on the back end of his career.
Yeah.
And, if it's a thing where they threw out, what's his name? Who's he fighting? The Nail. That's his nickname, the Nail. But if it's a thing where they like threw out the Nail to fight Benavidez at 75, and then they bring Benavidez back down to 168, well, hey, that's part of the game. That's part of being the A side. If that's their plan to do it, I think the fight eventually does happen, but. Benavidez talking crazy, like, bro, that's not going to get you anywhere with Canelo.
Right. Yeah. Not at all. But Canelo asking, basically pricing himself out of that fight too is another crazy move. Boxing in that weight area is kind of iffy, and we don't see that right now. 154 especially, we're not seeing that.
I mean, he threw out a crazy number, right? Like they say, if you throw out 150, 200 million, you're pricing yourself out. Yeah, but it brings whatever price is realistic up.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's not going to be there, but it's going to bring that 40 million to 60 million. So
because that fight's going to generate. And I think what people don't realize too is that people do have to understand that Canelo's not just asking for that amount of money because he wants that amount of money to fight David Benavidez. And don't get me wrong, I think David Benavidez beats Canelo, and I do think he's avoiding him. But they got to understand that Canelo's saying he wants 150 to 200 million because he knows how much money this fight's going to generate, and he wants a large piece of that pie. He's not going to fight it for and not get a fraction of that big fucking piece of pie.
Let's look at the quote. What did he say? He said, "Give me 150 million, I'll fight him tomorrow." So he's probably talking literally. Like, give me 150 million, I'll fight this guy tomorrow.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, it's all negotiated. When you're in the public and you're giving interviews and you're throwing stuff out there, I mean, I didn't take that like, he's not going to fight him unless he gets 150 million. I didn't take it that way. I just took it, hey, 150 million, I'm not scared of this guy. I'll fight him tomorrow. I'll fight him right now.
Right.
So, yeah, I think there's that to take. You gotta look at the context of what he was talking, but it was definitely a soundbite that I felt maybe hurt Canelo because everybody jumps on. He's scared. He priced himself out. Well, I mean, come on. Look at where he was talking. He's talking while he's promoting another fight, and look at what he exactly said. So
yeah,
he didn't say like I'm not fighting David Benavidez unless I get 150 million. Never said that. Said, give me 150 million, I'll fight him tomorrow.
That's facts right there. And again, this fight is going to do huge numbers. That one right there specifically. And
he's just doing bigger numbers. Even if people think Canelo's scared by Canelo saying this, well, guess what? More people are tuning in now come September when the fights hopefully happen.
And that fee might go up. I mean, at the end of the day, pay-per-view numbers come in. He's going to get a piece of that cake too. And, that 150 to 200 million is probably just going to fall into place realistically.
Right. I think so.
Yeah. What else do we have for that last weekend of boxing?
Last weekend. Come on, the comments hit. What did we forget?
We're gonna start winding down pretty soon, so make sure you throw in the comments. Your boy's tired. I ain't gonna lie. It's been awake since 4 a.m. It's been a long day.
I'll say this: I follow that Overtime Boxing. I kind of like what they're doing. They throw on fights, but they have Elijah Pierce. I don't know, the Wolf.
Oh yeah.
Bro's been calling out Tank. Tank said, "Bro, I knocked you out cold in sparring. What are you talking about?" But there you can kind of see the overtime money's behind Elijah Pierce. That dude got dropped. I saw the highlights.
I saw that.
Yeah, there's levels to this, right? Like,
right.
I thought it was funny though. Like you can't be calling out Tank and calling out these guys, and then be in these life and death wars with guys I've never heard of.
Yeah, no, not at all. And
that's like the definition of clout chasing, right? Like they're literally just using. Oh, I sparred Tank once, and I'm gonna talk about it, so to try to boost my profile.
Yeah, and I like that they called him out after the fight too. Like, bro, you calling out Tank and you have a performance like this? Like, it's not gonna. Come on, man.
Dude almost got knocked out of the ring, man. Like, come on.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
The other big news, obviously, is Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. That's gonna be fun. Only like people are like, it's a joke, and I think it's an evenly matched fight. Jake Paul, it's not like he's a top fighter, right? Everybody says he can't fight. He's not a boxer, blah, blah, blah. And then Tyson, they would also say he's too old, this and that, whatever. So if you ask me, you mix both of those up, that's an even fight for me at this point. And that's probably the best fight that could be made for Mike Tyson if he wants to still get in the ring and lace it up right now, other than maybe an Evander Holyfield fight. Actually, not even that. We saw what happened with him when he stepped in the ring.
Evander Holyfield, Vitor Belfort.
Yeah, that was embarrassing.
Yeah, man, I go back. I think it's the nostalgia, just seeing Mike in the ring, and when you see Mike talk, when you see Mike highlights, you're like, dang, that's the baddest man on the planet.
Right.
I would hate to see Jake Paul knock him out.
Same. I
would hate it. But come on, we're looking at an almost 60-year-old and the guy half his age.
Yeah.
I'm actually glad it's not going on their records, right? Like the latest we've heard is that it's exhibition, 2-minute rounds, not going on their record in 16-ounce gloves. I just would hate to see Mike Tyson be knocked out by Jake Paul, because Jake Paul couldn't hold Mike Tyson's jock, right?
Right.
If we're talking boxing, but we're also talking humans, and humans get old, and some humans could do more than others. And I hope Mike Tyson doesn't get knocked out. Yeah,
I know. That would
is that true, bro, or is that an April Fool's joke by Bean right now,
bro? Riddick Bowe can't even walk. That's definitely an April Fool's joke. He tried it though. Nobody can get me.
I don't think that's hitting ESPN, even if it is true.
It's not even hitting ITR if it is true.
That's crazy.
I hate April Fool's Day. And you guys can all consider this a challenge. If you know me personally, it don't matter. Come next year with your best material. Nobody's ever going to get me on this day. And I hate this day because it brings out the worst in people. People think they're funny. People come up with the corniest stuff. Just chill.
This year I was like, I didn't see it too much. Maybe it's just, so I was like, oh, maybe people are over that. But
I saw a couple things. Okay. Some of it was pretty funny. People definitely took their time into crafting some stuff. There's a bar out here. You probably have seen it. It's called Ojos Locos. It's kind of like a Hooters.
Yeah, that's in Texas too. I think that's
the waitresses, they dress, in skimpy outfits or whatever, but they posted something on their Instagram starting today. The new uniforms are like full body, long sleeves, and long black pants. And immediately, that was like one of the first things I saw this morning. And immediately, I knew what it was. That was funny.
Hey, Bean, I did check my phone. I checked ITR boxing, and it wasn't on there, so I knew it wasn't true.
I'm gonna definitely plug some fighters real quick too, because they've been on this program. But Joseph Rivas and Connor Gold, both going to be in action in a few weeks out here at a local card in Phoenix. Man, not that I ever want to see those guys fight. I've seen them spar, but we talked about Arturo Gatti earlier, and I swear to you, like, the way Joseph Rivas fights and the way Connor Gold fights, that's like Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward 2.0.
Hold up. We're talking about them fighting?
No. I'm just saying their fighting styles. They're not.
Oh.
Yeah, they're not going to fight each other. But they're both fighting on separate fights on the upcoming show out here. But Connor, he's been in war after war, and Joseph too. But I'm going to be doing something with Connor pretty soon. I've already done a doc with Joseph, so we'll be doing some work with Connor and a couple other local fighters out here again as usual. But branching out, you've seen a lot of the people. If you follow my work, you've seen a lot of the people that I work with. And I'm going to branch out, get different names involved. That way you can see all the untapped talent that's out here. A heavyweight that I'm going to be working with, Nick Johnson. He's an exciting fighter too. So got some cool projects on the way as well.
Yeah. And, I saw this in the comments earlier, and they said Elijah Garcia versus Arislani Lara. I think we've had his trainer dad on this program and say they would love that fight. That looks like such a great fight right now.
Yeah, and it's it's easy to be made. Obviously, Elijah fell sick. He couldn't perform this weekend. It's unfortunate. I know he was bummed out. But with that being said, it's not like it's going to take him out of fighting shape or he's going to have to take time off. And with Laura's performance, he should be able to get back in the ring quickly.
Yeah, he should.
So that should be an easy fight to be
Either
made.
that or we saw Danny Garcia on this program kind of throw his name out there.
Yeah,
for that fight as well. But I would expect Arislani Lara to be back rather quickly in a rather good fight.
Yeah, definitely. And that would be a good one right there. That's a perfect matchup. And everything always happens for a reason, man. Elijah's always in tough fights. His bounce back might have taken a little longer than Laura's. Even with a win, he would have had a tough fight. You know what I mean? He would have taken some time off. Laura who knows? Maybe he would have got a first round knockout too, second round knockout. You never know what would have happened in there. But that's going to be if it can happen, that would be a fun fight, man. I would love to see that one sooner than later for sure.
For sure.
What else do we got? Because I ran out of coffee a long time ago, and man.
Well, I mean, we're coming into the big fights, right? We got Usyk Fury on deck.
Yes.
Obviously, Canelo Munguia. It's not Canelo Benavidez, but shoot, Munguia. After his last performance and his age, I think it's not as tough a fight. But it's up there, right? Like if it's not Benavidez, give me Munguia, and that's what we're getting. So,
hey, yeah, and it's WrestleMania week. After tonight, yeah, WrestleMania week, man. So Saturday night 1, Sunday night 2. After tonight, I'm taking a week off of boxing. It's all WrestleMania. If you guys follow me in anything, so all you're gonna see is wrestling posts, and I don't care. Actually, tomorrow I'm doing a WrestleMania podcast with somebody. I'm going to be on somebody's show, so that should be fun. Talking wrestling, and I'm looking forward to it, man. Roman Reigns going to take it home, the first guy to ever main event four WrestleManias in a row and win them all too as champion each time. Never lost the title. That's a crazy, crazy stat. Looking forward to that. It's going to be fun, man. It's like our Super Bowl, and I'm going to pig the hell out. Pizza, wings, cookies. I already got the food menu on deck.
So that's one I tune into for sure. So
yeah, it's gonna be fun. I wish I was out there. Next year is gonna be in Minnesota. I've never been up to Minneapolis, but that's gonna be cool because it's last I saw was there was snow out there still, and I like that kind of weather, so that'll be cool for me.
No doubt.
We don't have anything else that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, I like I said, I think Fury, Usyk's kind of the next big one. I believe that's in April, right? Or
yeah,
is that in
May. Let me see. Let me do a quick Google.
Good Google.
I still think Tyson Fury takes it. I don't know how. May 18th. I don't really
Oh,
see how.
later.
I
Okay.
guess it's going to be similar to Fundora and Zoo size wise, because I don't see how Usyk beats Fury. Like I just don't. And I'm not saying that Usyk is not skilled enough to do it. I think he's a better fighter overall, pound for pound, but I don't see how he beats Tyson Fury. I just don't. So that's going to be curious. I'm curious to see how that happens. Selfishly, I want Tyson Fury to win because that Anthony Joshua fight is right there, and that's what we need is them two right there. That's what the sport needs.
So what do we have? We have nothing big in April. Like I know, I guess we have WrestleMania. I know we have UFC 300, but does boxing really not start until Cinco de Mayo?
Let me do a check here.
Yeah, look at that schedule. I didn't mean to throw you on the spot, but
yeah, no, I mean it's a good one because I hadn't thought about that. There's actually, oh yeah, of course, Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia on 420. But that's actually it.
That's the 420. Okay.
Yeah. We got.
Does it happen? Is that fight happening?
We'll see. We'll see. I think we're past the nonsense now. I think Ryan Garcia, he got his buzz early on. He saw what was happening. He took advantage, but I think people are like backed off. Like, okay, we're done giving this guy attention now at this point. So yeah, I think it happens. I think we make it there. There's really nothing else big. There's a Richardson Hitchens, the zone card on April 6th. Diego Pacheco's on the undercard there. Yeah. Looking really quickly at the schedule, I don't see much more. Corpus Christi, we got Jared Anderson, ESPN Plus card. To no surprise, F.A. Ajagba, Henry LeBron, Abdullah Mason, the usual suspects on your top ranked cards. I'm surprised Richard Torres is not on there. Robson Concencia was going to be on there. Nothing really. Even April 20th, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia. I couldn't even tell you who's on the undercard for that.
I don't know if that's been announced. Like, hopefully it's decent.
I'd hope so. That's a big fight right there. April 27th, Virgil Ortiz, Thomas Delorme.
Bro, that's a garbage fight. Golden Boy, you got to do better. Or no, you're not even Golden Boy, right? Like Virgil Ortiz, you got to do better. I understand you're just a fighter, but you have some say in who you fight. At 154, we talked about how deep this division was. You cannot fight Thomas Delorme.
Right.
Like that's crazy. Then I think Boots got him out in one round. That was at 47 where Delorme looks small. And now you're gonna drag him up to 154. That's dirty, bro. That's nasty to be able to drag Thomas Delorme up to 154. Whether it's a showcase or not. Like there are 154 pounders out there that you can fight better than Thomas Delorme.
Agreed.
I just get bugged, bro. Like, don't tell me you can't call out all these guys. Oh, I want Terrence Crawford. I want to fight the best. I want to be champion, and then fight Thomas Delorme, knocked out in one round at 147.
But what do you expect with Virgil right now? His career is definitely not on track. That's for sure. If we can say one thing, his career is not on track.
Well, it's not on track, but like he should come out and say, even if he said, "Hey, my promoter gave me this fight. I don't want this fight, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it." I'd respect that.
Right.
But to try to sell me that fighting Thomas Delorme does something, nah, I don't like
that. Those are the kind of fights where you root for the other guy. Like it makes you want to root for Delorme to pull off an upset.
Well, hey, if you look at it, if Thomas Delorme goes 2 rounds, yeah, Virgil Ortiz, you're garbage. like that's what it's boiled down to. Like that, he's that big of a favorite, and so even if you get him out of there in 1 round, I've already seen him bodied in 1 round. So like, why have this fight? If it's to stay busy, cool. But there's better fighters out. You can't call out champions and say you want to be the best and then fight Thomas Delorme at this point in your career. You just can't.
100%.
I think Jose Ramirez fights Rancis Barthelemy. right?
Yes, I think I saw. Yeah, he does. Yep, on the
Like, cool. Like I guess cool. I don't think either of that. I think they're kind of wash status at this point.
but
But
those
it's
make
in
for good fights though. When they're at that crossroads level of their career.
yeah. I mean, it's in his hometown, so I get it. He deserves it.
Yeah.
But for Virgil Ortiz, nah.
Looking at May, it's May and June, crazy stacked. We got Canelo Munguia first weekend of May. Just a few days after that, Inoue fighting because he always does that Tuesday fight.
Tuesday, yeah.
And he's fighting Luis Neri. That's going to be a good one. The week after, May 11th in Australia, Lomachenko versus Kambosos for the IBF lightweight championship. Where's the next one? The week after that, Usyk and Fury. Also on the same night in San Diego, Emmanuel Navarrete versus Denise Berencek. May 25th, Josh Taylor, Jack Catterall in a rematch from their highly contested fight maybe a couple years ago at this point.
Didn't that get postponed, or is that the postponed date?
I think that's the postponed date already.
Oh, okay. Cool.
The week after that, well, it's no longer in May. It's June 1st. Might as well be. The fight a lot of people have been asking for, me included, Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev. So, I mean, and then also on the same night, Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal in a 10-round light heavyweight boxing match. That should be fun as hell.
Yeah.
If you were familiar with those two guys, which you should, I don't even follow MMA, but I know those two guys. So if you're living under a rock completely, you don't watch combat sports, you won't know who they are. But that's gonna be a fun fight. And then also June, Teofimo Lopez is back. And then in Glendale, June 29th, Estrada versus Rodriguez. That's going to be a fun fight.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, so let's get to May, and boxing will be on track.
Yes, indeed. Unlike Virgil Ortiz's career.
Come on, Virgil, man. Tell Golden Boy you're too good for that. Like, if you're fighting Thomas Delorme, they don't believe in you, bro. Like, I can't see why or how Thomas Delorme is getting that fight.
Maybe they're not even sure that Ortiz makes it to the finish line again. So they're using Delorme as a let's schedule this guy in because if he doesn't fight, it's not the end of the world. But we're not going to get another.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's true. He's already not on the main event.
Yeah,
but that's just, bro. Too many. 154 is too deep for that to happen.
Oh, yeah. Way too deep.
It's too deep for Errol Spence to just jump the line and fight the champ, and it's too deep for Virgil Ortiz to fight probably Thomas Delorme is probably ranked probably like 75. I don't know. Like it's too deep for those fights to happen.
Without a doubt. But that is it. We've gone too deep in this show, and I'm tired. I've been fighting that battle almost the entire night.
All right.
But we'll be back next week, and we will talk about. Well, there's no boxing this weekend, so I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. But we'll be back next week because it's springtime. We're like the bears here when it comes to podcasting because we just hibernated the entire winter, and now we're ready to give you week after week content, just the way this is the number one boxing podcast, man. This is the baddest podcast on the planet.
Yes, sir.
And that's it. Peace, y'all.